All right, enough shower talk. Let's get to work, huh? So if you guys are going to be working alongside me, go ahead and put what you're doing in the chat and check in. All right, so today we're going to be doing some grid explorations, and I have 3 things that I'm really interested in pursuing. If shower talk was an actual thing. You could do a clubhouse call. Like, there's no risk of video there. You know, just like you do a clubhouse call where you're in the shower and you're just brainstorming with people. Dr. Meow is reviewing ads at the corporate gig. Nice, cool. Cornelius is doing some architectural renderings. Cornelius, I know you're an architect. All right, so I'm interested in a 5-column grid, 15-column grid, and playing around with the classic golden canon grid. So really what we're just gonna do, we're just gonna kind of like experiment with artboards and blocks and just kind of like check out different ways to position elements on the page, both from the perspective or, you know, thinking about the home page, which is now going to be super simple, but also thinking about the blog page. So I typically, whenever I start a design, I typically start with the blog page because it's got the most type on it. It's usually the most boring, but it helps set those fundamentals and get the like a basic design system in place where you know, you can see the language in action. So we'll play around with both the home page and the blog page with both grids. We're not actually going to do any typesetting though. We're just going to use blocks to see how things are kind of being shaped. So we'll start with 5-column. So I think what I'm going to do is have the total width of my site be 1920, and that's going to be the bounding box. I know that's larger than a lot of people are comfortable with, and it's a personal choice for me. I'm going for some truly responsive type. So after 1920, like after it gets wider than 1920, it's going to lock in place. And the only things that will expand are like, you know, any kind of elements that are pinned to the sides of the browser, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is kind of get rid of most of this margin. Maybe we'll go, I don't know, 3 VW, so do 60 on either side. So whenever I'm referring to VW, it's like I'm trying to plan out for development as I'm building grids and thinking through things. So with this one, you know, 1920, 1 VW is going to be 19.2 pixels. So it's about 20 pixels. So I'm just adding, you know, 60 pixels of margin to either side. And then as far as the gutter goes, we'll just stick to, you know, probably 20 pixels for that. So it's going to be difficult. That's okay. 64 it is. We're just kind of messing around at this point. So here's a basic 5-column grid, and we'll go ahead and start adding some rectangles to evaluate this. This is going to be like the home page, so obviously we'll have kind of a menu item up here. I'll go over here. Sometimes it helps to like block out these shapes and just kind of play before you actually start kind of typesetting anything. So I have this idea that we could do like a really big chunky piece of text here in the middle. I'm just kind of like playing at this point. I think all the formulas are good for like a jumping off point, but I think the lack of play is another issue that we really haven't discussed. So this could be cool. You know, we've got some meta text. It's almost like a slide where we've got the navigation elements up here, maybe a little subheader over here. So that could be cool. Thing is that like it's definitely not a 5-column grid, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is more of a classic 12-column. So we'll just change that. Then we can do some cool stuff. Say, let's go this, put that there. And maybe it's still centered, but the cool thing about 5-column grid is that like if we wanted to keep these things more centered, we could, because there's a center column. So you can see I was just placing elements before, and now I can line things up to the grid. And that's the workflow that I like to kind of go by. Just let's put the elements on the page and then see how they line up with the grid. And then with the mouse over effects, like literally half the screen can change on hover, and then I'm thinking the cursor can change as well. Audio only, yeah. Our shower talk Clubhouse. That's the only thing that's gonna get me on Clubhouse if we start a shower talk Clubhouse room. You're gonna have to have some cheap ass mics though. All right, so then I have this concept or this idea that I'm gonna want to do a side nav. And that's going to change the margins. So let's say we have kind of like a 10 VW margin on the left. That's going to be roughly 190 pixels. And then if we go, I don't know, maybe 2 on the right. So something like 40 pixels there. Let's see the way that this changes the layout here. Do some sideways text. I have this idea of like the side menu opening and having like sideways text. It could be kind of cool. So we can do kind of everything sideways there. And then centering these elements, these large type elements, we'd have to center them on the grid and not on the screen, which could be kind of cool. Like it's a little bit asymmetrical. I'm really just looking for balance. And the whole reason why we're approaching it like this is we want to build the palette of things to experiment with. And we're doing this really fast. If we were typesetting, there would be no way that we could work this fast and experiment with these different grids. So the only thing that bothers me there is that like it's off center, but it's not off center enough to say like, hey, this is a off center thing. Like they just doesn't, I don't know, something weird about it. I mean, maybe having these elements closer to here might help. And maybe centering is not the answer there. Maybe we need to go left aligned or something. Let's try that. The only problem that presents is that, like, if we're gonna go with this kind of half and half screen where our mouse is changing and then the background is changing, a centered layout here lends itself better to that concept than going left aligned. And I'm envisioning these items as, like, you know, this is a logo, maybe this is some like a subhead, maybe that's like MrBenBurns, and then here's designer, entrepreneur, father of the year kind of thing, which has been my tagline of late. And then some copyright information down here or something like that. We're just looking for balance screen. And then we can do like funky stuff too, like break the grid by moving the text over. We don't have to be slaves to it. Slave to the grid. So for this concept, I definitely like this, and it's a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's a little boring, but the only bad thing about the 5-column grid is that the columns are so wide that, like, when you break the grid or break the spine of the page, you kind of have to do it just eyeball it. Let's see how this plays out with, like, blog concept. Technically, these wouldn't be there yet. One of the things that I want to avoid is doing a staggeringly different layout between content types. So let's rename this content, and we can play around with, maybe this would be the header. This could be like a subheader or something. cool thing about 5-column grid is that you're able to center your text in these 3 columns. So it's kind of like, oops. Something like that, where you still have this like first column for metadata, so like you could kind of bring in little pieces in here. This could be an image or a video, depending on what kind of content it was. To be honest, it feels a little busy. Like the vertical pacing is off on this. It's just because this heading is a little too big. Holy smokes, you guys have been busy in the chat. Whoa. Okay, so we got some people working on dashboard design, building boring website components. Hey, the boring website components add up to be the real deal. Yeah. Out of coffee. Why 12? Does that have anything to do with versatility? That's a good question. I have some opinions, but I just wanted to see what people wrote in the chat. Chelor asks, I like the asymmetry. How would you push it even further? Such a creative director. Mostly listening right now and still loving. Cool. Cool coffee mug that I had before from Adobe. I'm not sure. I can't remember what brand it was, but I'll bring it back next stream. Yeah, so Dan Storm's right on the money. It's divisible by the most numbers, and so it's the most flexible. So like you can do a 1-column layout with that, where it fills the screen. You can do 3 columns, 4 columns. You know, it's but the thing is that like I find whenever I'm designing in 12 columns, it feels like I'm almost just falling into patterns where it's like, here's a big full width header and then a 3-column layout with icons and then a 2-column text layout. And then, so I think that like for me, the reason why I'm pushing for something like a 5-column grid or a 15-column grid is really just to push myself to do something different and new. So that's the reasoning there. But it's also so 12-column grids, like it's really, really easy to create a wide variety of layouts. It was also popularized by Bootstrap, I believe. So yeah. And you can totally tell the routine, Leswent. Like you can pretty much go on anybody's website and see if they're using a 12-column grid. So I think my biggest pain point with this is that like it's so tight up here. So maybe just by taking these elements and moving them down, get a different vibe. We just have like a piece of that sticking up here. And that could afford this to be a little bit more chunky. Yep. So this way, when somebody clicks on like a blog article or a video, they've got the title up here, and then they've got this little piece of image, and it just kind of encourages the scroll. Kind of like that. Oh. So obviously we won't be using that like H massive when it comes to body text. So we'll kind of decrease that a little bit. I don't know. It doesn't have to be crazy, but something like that. Let's see. What if there was like a gallery in here? Say this were a case study instead of a piece of content. Do something like this where just bleeds right off the screen, something like that. And the nice thing about having the nav on top here is that we don't have to worry about giving space over here if we want to break out of the spine. You know, if we really wanted to, we could probably pop those out and be okay without like encroaching on the space that we would need for a side nav. So it's something I didn't really think about before. Then what would happen? Like say I wanted to go half and half kind of deal. Let's do 2-column layout here. Honestly, you really kind of can't. I guess you could force it. Yeah, so the responsive resize in XD, it can get a little bit awkward. I love it in some circumstances, but sometimes you just want to grab something and resize it and have it be okay. That could be another cool way to do that. Like technically we're breaking the grid here, but like, you know, sometimes we gotta live a little. I also kind of like the idea of having no footer aside from just some minimal text. It's kind of cool. Let's try one more kind of alternate layout. Feels a little cluttered up here, doesn't it? proceeds to make things busier. I just heard my 5-year-old say from the next room, "All right, I'll have your operation." What is going on? So it could also be cool to do like a full width image here or something like that, where maybe it's like halfway and then we just have some small pieces of text up here. Could also increase our gutters. So right now it's at like 1 VW, but what if it was at 3? Like this could be dates and stuff, etc. This lacks weight. It feels a little better. So you can see like this is a natural progression to go from this grid exploration to just plugging in type here. And it's just a quick way to visualize things. This H massive might be too massive in this case. So as you're also kind of seeing like how different font sizes would come into play here. To be honest, we could even do something like that. I like that. Kind of like what we do on the future site, just with a 5-column grid instead of a 15-column grid. So all these elements are going to be a little bit too large. So we changed the gutter width on this, so. It's time for seltzer. Today we've got Good and Gather pomegranate dragon fruit. Hey, good morning, Heather. Zach, I didn't know your wife taught kindergarten. That's cool. Kids say the craziest things. That's a show. All right, so let's just fix this hierarchy here. Put the heading up top. There we go. Does Figma have like repeat grid like XD does? I'm sure there's probably a plugin for it. So the main header image could be full width, but then subsequent images can just do something funky, like just barely break the grid. That could be cool. And then we can get into some crazy image stuff where we're playing around with aspect ratios. I wish you could just grab the edge of the artboard wherever you are. Let me know if there's a keyboard shortcut to do that. Maybe like it's the artboard tool in XD. I don't know, something like that. Could make a cool gallery space. Maybe line that with the bottom of that. Or not. So I'm thinking, you know, more case study at this point, but we can have a little badgy thing there. Like a, almost like a subline or some subtext here. It's nice and light and airy. The only thing that we would need to make sure is that like these images would be kind of height constrained. So like if we test this out in a sample browser, like you see how that image loads right there in the bottom of the screen? I like that effect. So we're scrolling through the blog article, get down to this kind of area here, and it barely hits. It's just barely out of view. So we'll probably want to reduce the height of that kind of. Yeah, so that feels a little better. But this could be something like a little text badge or something like that that's just rotating in space. And then we move into more of like a flowy gallery. On one of my mood boards, I took a screenshot and it was a weird screenshot. Let's see where it was. It was typography. Oh. It was this one. Oh, it was right here. It was this one. I almost didn't see it. And I took this screenshot because I wanted to remind myself that it was okay not to fill the space and just to let things breathe. So it's a good reminder. But this could be really subtle. So we can just turn the opacity way down on that just to say, hey, this is super, super subtle, let's say. So you can see 5-column grid, like, yeah, welcome to my blank page is nice. So you can see like the 5-column grid is restrictive, but once your sandbox gets a little smaller, like the ideas start flowing. It's like, where can you position text? How about images? That kind of thing. So these layouts are quite nice in my opinion. So initially I was leaning towards a five column grid for these designs, and I just want to do a couple of them to represent each option that we're considering. So we can move on to a 15-column grid. Actually, no, we can't, because it's worth exploring this side nav option in a blog post or content format. Okay, so with this one, we've got our navigation area here, and this is like 10 VW or so, like 10% of the screen. And then the grid actually starts. So this protects the nav element. So if we were going to click on this, it would open from the side there. But we've got this kind of like asymmetrical grid positioning on screen, which kind of cool. So let's first increase our gutters, because I actually really like that on the last one. So we'll go 60 gutters. And then this stuff is really going to go away because we're not focused on the home page yet. Hey, Charlie. Thanks for the raid. I appreciate that. All of you, welcome to the stream. What we're doing is we're kind of experimenting with different grid styles for the personal website that I'm working on right now, and it's fun. I don't know. I'm also exhausted, so the words are not coming as easily today. Forgive me. So far, we've done kind of some exploration into 5-column grid and experimenting with both using a top nav, and then now we're working on like how do we incorporate like a side navigation element where we're reserving the left part of the screen to or for the navigation. So that's what we're working on. Charlie, how did the stream go? What were you working on? Oh my gosh, thanks for all the follows, guys. Voodoo, X90, DDRH Odes 33. What's going on? Hey Zane, good to see you over on YouTube. Had to end my stream because I have a meeting, so I can't stay, but oh, thanks. I appreciate that, Charlie. You are always welcome here. Oh, right. Yeah, the Creator Sessions website that you were working on last time. I hope you got the logo figured out. I know that was bugging you. Sweet. So Webflow starts on Friday. Nice. So Charlie's like a couple of steps ahead of me on this process. So if you guys don't follow her already, please open a new tab, throw her a follow. Totally worth it. Yeah, we missed you last week, Charlie. I'm sure you had to bail, but we missed you last week in the streaming world. Khalil, he left her for me. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so I just looked at the clock and it is 11:57, so we can actually jump in and do a critique before we pursue these other grids. So let's head into Discord and see who's up next. All right, so we did Boy Tokyo. Edgar, are you in the stream? Let me know. See you, Charlie. Once again, thanks. Appreciate that. Jonas, thank you for the follow. We'll miss you, Charlie. Edgar, let me know if you're in the chat. If so, head to the waiting room. And I think that so Michael, I covered Michael and then I covered John. So the next up would be JTR. So Edgar, then JTR. Jordan, if you're in the chat, go ahead and jump in this waiting room right here. And I'll pull you into stream chat. I hope Jordan's in the room, in the house. There he is. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull him in here. Jordan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. 1 second, so we don't get echo. All right, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. All right, let me go back to critique requests. So you want me to take a look at the Stylescape, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And in advance, thank you for doing this.
Heck yeah, man. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can actually see what I'm talking about in real time.
Oh, great. Because I can't zoom in on the photo that it is on the chat.
Okay. Are you able to see that? I think I got my browser open. My browser's sharing. It should be in the room. So you click on Stream Chat Room. You should be able to see that.
Oh, here we are. Yes.
The link for the Discord, Chris, over on YouTube, if you hit !Discord and type that into the chat, it should show you on your end. If it doesn't, it's in the link in my Instagram bio. Yeah, cool. Okay, Jordan, walk me through this.
Absolutely. So with JTR Presents, it's coming up on its 5th year since I started, and I figured since it's long, I might as well go ahead and make it a full official branding service provider. It started 5 years ago. I was being asked for logos, and that's actually how I learned about the future in you and Chris, and it's grown and evolved ever since. So I was looking through from past projects and the projects we're looking at, and came up with those 3 attributes. A short summary: JTR Presents is a creative service provider that uses its profits to do community service projects. So exhibitions for social awareness and advocacy, or creative projects to help communities or address social issues, and trying to tie all of that up.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, so are you looking for feedback on the overall design of this Stylescape?
Overall design and essentially messaging, just how to, from all that I just shared, like how to tell that in a concise, sort of consumable way through this Stylescape. My understanding is that Stylescapes tend to do that, at least from the examples I've seen.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I'm trying to mute Discord as things. There we go. I'm going to mute for 1 hour on general chat. That way the notifications will kind of slow down for you guys on audio.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted me to mute.
No. Definitely not. Okay. All right. So, are you a designer by trade?
More so, yes. My background was in the fine arts field.
Okay, cool. I can tell. All right. So, the thing that a Stylescape should do is dictate the look and feel of a project pretty much cohesively, or, you want to be able to say, let's say you were your own client. You want to be able to say to a client, here's the look and feel of the project moving forward, and every piece of visual inspiration that we're going to draw from is right here on this board. And the thing that I'm not getting here is this feels more like a style guide than it does a Stylescape. And the reason being is that you've actually put together a whole bunch of stuff that you've designed. instead of building an inspiration like mood board piece from things that other people have designed. And so if you were to hand this to a designer, they would view this as more of like a recipe for a specific outcome versus a springboard that they can use to riff on. And so my first tip here is, and I want to do this as gently and kindly and caringly as possible, but I would start completely from scratch.
Okay.
And what I would do is hit Pinterest, hit Dribbble, hit your design museum, and look for elements that you can bring in that share the same kind of typography that you're going for. So if it is Helvetica, if you're really wanting to pursue Helvetica, look for inspirational type that's using Helvetica and put them on the page, because this should serve as inspiration, not dictation, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So the other thing is that, like, you know, it's nice to have these like painterly things, these images of fine art. But I think that like I'm not getting the vibe. Like, it's so scattered, it's so all over the place that I'm not getting like the one thing that you want to communicate to me with this. So these are the only elements that I have to really react to, and it feels like it's very different. Like, you've got something kind of sketchy here, you've got something more in the painterly realm here. There's watercolor, and there's like this collage-y kind of thing here. So it's so many different things that me as a designer, if I just had this without any of the recipe stuff on the left, I'd have trouble figuring out where to go from here. So I would start by pulling. There's a list of things that you want to find online for anything like this, and it's number 1, logos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm getting some instruction. So to mute Discord sound, go in settings, notifications.
Because it's coming. I think it's coming from me.
Yeah.
I'm
So
trying to find a mute for that.
So JTR, if you right click on general chat, you can actually mute general chat.
Oh, great.
There we go. That should help. Sorry guys, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I forget what I was saying. Oh, the list of things that you need to find. So these are things that, like, you want to create buckets on Pinterest or on your computer where you're saving images to. And I would go down the list of the deliverables that you could make for your brand. So if it's a website, like, look for things like buttons or navigation elements or, photographic style, or, things that the elements that make up websites, and pull all those inspirational pieces in one place. And then as you're building your Stylescape, you're curating from that bucket to see which things kind of line up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So website, wayfinding, brochure design, print, logos, find other people's logos. The Stylescape is meant to help set a direction before anything's designed. So if you have anything like your JTR logo here, you can put that on there since it's already done. But I would recommend even looking for logos that look how you want to look. And that way you're building out your inspiration for the mood board. Then when you're building the Stylescape, I would look. It's very boxy, It's very like, here's a picture, here's a element, here's some elements here. I would look for ways to break the boxiness. So if there's a piece of packaging, like, you want to make this, especially if you're doing this for your client, you're gonna want to make this like a dynamic composition. And so sometimes, like, we'll take a mock-up, like we'll take a really nice piece of packaging that somebody else designed, and we'll trim it out of the background, and we'll have it breaking the bounds. And then the other thing is that you're missing your hero on this. You're missing your the person who this is for. And so we usually will pull like an example photograph of whoever we're designing this for. So, you tell me, like, who is this brand for? Who are you speaking to?
Social do-gooders, really. So like, there's a new term called public benefit businesses or socially conscious for-profits. So these are essentially startups or just businesses that are doing a social good, like with Nike and their campaign about stand up for your dreams, even if it costs you everything, in response to Black Lives Matter, or with even Kavanaugh specifically, or with other organizations that are focusing on bettering our environment, or so on and so forth. So like the entrepreneur or socialpreneur, I think the word is.
Yeah, so you would want to like encapsulate that person in an archetype, and archetypes are, you know, it's very difficult to navigate archetypes without venturing into stereotypes, especially in this social climate. However, it's going to be pretty clear that like your target person, the person who's going to hire you, is probably not going to be some like old white dude in a Walmart tie. It's going to be somebody that looks differently, that performs differently, and that has a different mission. And so like I would find an example of who that person is and put them front and center, because every single decision is going to be based on how they see the world and how, you know, you want to align your visuals with, you know, what's going to appeal to them. And so like that's the reason why we put that big character, that big archetype image on the Stylescape, so that we're constantly reminded like who this is for. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. So just kind of making sure I got the notes right is sort of the three big things. Is first off, it's way too like rigid and structured. So kind of loosen it up with a lot of the mood boards and the imagery. Which the second big takeaway I got from this is go and do a more thorough investigation of what opportunities are there. And then this third big one is what you just said, essentially find the target audience that this is for and make them the hero in this narrative, in this Stylescape, so that you're reminded that this is who we're looking at. You know, will person A, B, and C, would they respond to this?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like you're gonna find that it's a lot less pressure putting this thing together, where you are you're not trying to uncover the solution, you're just clarifying potential directions. And that's why we never do one Stylescape, we always do 3 at least. And so you, instead of trying to say, okay, this is the typeface, this is how the type looks, you're just pulling together those inspirational pieces, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, funny enough, this is one of 3 Stylescapes
Nice.
that I had to choose from. And yeah, this one seemed to fit better, but starting from scratch, you know, I can definitely go back and do it over again.
Cool.
I have one question.
Go for it.
So going back to the hero, I am curious if this hero could be the personas that you do either before or after when you do your discovery.
Exactly.
Or does it not even have to be that rigid of a process?
I would recommend taking a look at the personas that you're doing during your discovery and picking the one that's going to either benefit the most from you or that you would benefit the most from. So if you're looking at this as a commerce effort, you know, as a commercial effort, you're going to want to go with your ideal client and whoever that looks like, you know. But sometimes, especially in these situations where you're borderline nonprofit, you're borderline, you know, giving back, sometimes it can help saying, all right, who is the end result for? Meaning, who are my clients and I going to serve with my work? And then you put that person in. And then you can also experiment with 2 different personas on 2 different Stylescapes and see how that kind of evolves and affects the inspiration that you're gathering.
That, you know, that just gave me an idea for the next 3 Stylescapes.
Right on.
Because It Presents is a socially conscious business, so there is a commercial side, but then there's a social good side. So and then maybe try to do both. And so those are the next 3.
Yep.
Thanks.
Right on, man. Hope that helped. I'm
That
trying
helped
to
greatly.
trying to be as gentle and caring, and take these critiques all with a grain of salt, because they are definitely opinions only. So
I definitely appreciate that. As feedback to you is, I really appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate you trying to be nice about it. As long as you're being honest about it, whether it's nice or not, I can.
Cool. All right.
Thank you so much.
Now let's see. We got time for one more before we get back to design here. Let's see. Nikki, are you in the chat? Oh no, that's a survey. Never mind. Got here, Nikki. How about delicious goat meal? Are you in the chat? Yeah, we're right in the middle of reviews. Hey Franjo, good to see you. Critiques. Now that we got that whole muting thing out of the way. All right, so if delicious goat meal is not in the chat, maybe we can go to Zach. Zachalicious, are you here? Sanchez, what's up? Let me know if you guys are in the chat. I'm looking at the critique requests channel, and I'm just trying to find one person who can come on live. So Zach would be next, but the following would be Hibik. Oh, you're in the office. Okay, cool. All right, let's do Hibik. Hibik's in the waiting room, or Hibik. You can actually correct me on saying your name right.
Yeah, it's Hibik.
Hibik.
I think it's right.
How are you?
Yeah, hey, hello. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Good, good, good. All right, let's take a look at what you got here. Give me some context. What are we looking at?
Okay, so basically I'm creating a personal website. It's the first time I'm doing it. I don't know why I didn't invent this before, but I want a platform where I can share what I do, or like a platform where people can go to other platforms, like a digital presence. And this is what I have done so far. Still working on the content. It's just the design and the structure of the website. But yeah, so far this is what I have.
Hibik, your mic is real low, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn you up in Discord here. Okay, can you say hello?
Hello?
Okay, that's a little better. Yeah.
Okay.
I can mute the music. Hold on 1 second.
Well, I can put it louder if you want.
Oh, it's okay. We'll just take the music way down. There we go. What kind of work can I submit? Pretty much anything. I try to stick to the realm of like web and branding. Like if you throw animation up, I'll look and I'll be amazed. But yeah. All right, so, dude, this is great. I'm thrilled at this. I think that like the thing that I'm really drawn to is your use of space. So it just feels light. It feels airy. I'm a sucker for multi-column design. Obviously, this text layout is fantastic. It's almost like a built-in resume here, which is nice. Events, this is cool. Yeah, so I it's early. Like I would have loved to take a look at what goes here. Is this a space for like illustration?
Yeah, I'm lost right now over there. That's why I want a feedback to see where I can go with this. If I need to start from the zero, or if, I'm a good way on this. But yeah, over there it's icons. I still need to do it. But yeah, I didn't want a website with full of stuff. I just want the minimal. Some part of what I'm doing right now. So it's like, what is design, and then who I am, and what can I do to achieve that first text, important for good branding. So this is going to be an article I will write in Medium. Yeah, and then explain who I am, and then what I can do to help you to achieve that importance of good branding.
Okay.
and the case study where you just take a look of what it is, or all of these I'm talking about.
Okay.
Basically, that's it. Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
But
So
I
it's
just feel like it's naked. It's something is missing over there. I don't know if it's the complementary design, like random stuff in the website, or just I don't know. I just feel something it's not working.
hmm. Where do you feel that the most? Like what's I know that there's a section that's just bugging you. So where can we start?
Yeah, I think it's between the importance of good branding and the who I am.
Hmm.
I don't know. I see white space over there, which I don't dislike the white space. That's why I have put a lot of white space. But I don't know. Maybe that's that shadow element in the left. I don't know. Something is not working, in my opinion.
Hmm. So this is actually one of my favorite sections. I think that like the biggest thing that I could recommend is maybe increasing the contrast between your headings and your body copy. I think playing around with adding 1 or 2 more sizes to your type scale might help. So, you've got
Okay.
your heading size here, which is repeated, which is great, right? And then you've got your smaller header here in your body copy. But what about a larger header? Like I think a little bit of contrast here where maybe this is even bigger. This looks like what? Somewhere around 36 or 40 pixel size or something
It's
like that.
42. Yeah,
42.
42.
So maybe increasing this to like something crazy, like go, I don't know, 60 or 80 and
Okay.
play around with those huge jumps in sizes, because I think that like the only thing that this lockup, this layout, this composition is missing is probably contrast. And you can see that, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think it's worth playing around with a little bit more. The other thing is that like there's consistency in your heading sizes, but then when it comes to these rules, I'm not seeing this implemented anywhere else, right? So there's a divider line, and I think it's because you wanted to separate these sections. But I'm wondering if instead of saying like, hey, I'm going to separate these sections with a divider line, what if you considered these sections as more slides on your screen, so that when someone's here, they don't see the who am I section. They only see these elements. And then as they scroll down, then this fades into view. There's a lot of websites that are doing this at this point, and I think instead of trying to incorporate another element that's not used or reiterated anywhere else on screen, maybe by just separating it with space, it could be the answer that you're looking for. Because this lockup is really nice. Like, this is, I don't think that there's anything missing here. I think that it's just you're going for separation, and because of the contrast, it's not an issue, but it's not wildly different between the contrast and the spacing. I think that those are the two things that you're kind of sensing.
Okay, I think it makes sense. I can give it a try. Try to figure out if that's the solution I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I just feel it's like I understand what you're saying, and the typing. It's like it's so much rules in the typing. It's like you have the header, then you have the body, then you have the header, then you have the body, and that's just too much. Like formal. And I think it's something while it's missing maybe.
Is there a reason why you're constraining the width of the content to this section? What, is this 1440 here?
Not sure. I mean, the header, it's just I don't know. I like it to have a bigger space in the header than have a much more box in the rest.
Yeah.
But no reason at all. Yeah, just
and this is controversial. Like, if you go online and look up like the maximum widths for a container of content online, a lot of people are like still using the 992 grid or something like that, and then lots of people are bumping it up to 1440. I like going full 1920. And I think that like if someone has a screen that's 1920 pixels wide, being able to take advantage of all of it is really helpful. And so what you may want to do is, you see how like this kind of element is breaking the grid. I like it, but it just feels disconnected from the rest. Like obviously you're still working on this kind of thing, but what if you had that same feeling where this image kind of went all the way across to the browser's edge instead of being pinned here? So you still have the bounds of the content, but you're breaking the grid with your imagery instead of having to loop in seemingly random elements, so that it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, okay. I think, I mean, the problem with filling it with the width, it's I will need more content, or I need to put things bigger, you know, otherwise it will just feel like I just, you know, extend the content to fill it. That's one of the reasons I put it like that. It's easier to less content, more visual. Yeah.
Well, maybe. So you're saying that if you like increase the size of this imagery, that the text would have to increase as well?
Well, yeah, not just that part, but the rest of the website.
Oh, I see. I don't know, man. I think that like
the text, I need to try it, of course, but yeah,
I would play with it because I think that the text sizing is totally fine. But breaking the grid, like I think that the gap that you're feeling is that you followed the rules so tightly that you're almost like constrained, and so the white space is nice, but I think you can decrease the white space on the sides of the browser, or the sides of the content, and then increase the spacing on the vertical height. Like that vertical pacing might actually work better if it's a little bit more spread out. So I don't think it's gonna impact the sizing of the rest of your content. I think it's just like, hey, let's make these images do a bigger job. Like let's break the bounds, you know. I
just work with the image to, just only the image, and then the rest would work as it is. Okay.
So let's this isn't the craziest example, but here's, oh god, look at that meta text is terrible. Here's an example of like the future site that does this. So we've got like a very, very clear grid here, but then certain things like this preview image break the bounds, and they go all the way to the browser's edge, or the margin that we have set on the browser's edge. So it's nice to switch things up and to have that pacing be just a little bit different.
Okay.
But as far as typography goes, as far as like the fundamentals, I think you have it nailed. I think that I think you just need to play. Like, I think that that's the solution here, is that like the rules are followed, you're good. Now just throw it all away, or like grab a new artboard and just go crazy. Like experiment with different things. Like what would happen if you had a 200-point font here somewhere? Like what would happen if you had a 14-point font with a rule next to it? So I think that like taking the content that you have and just bringing in a sense of play might help you break through those. And the things that you've already played with here make the site, like I know that these things are temporary, but this really gives the site personality, like these little elements that you're thinking about breaking the bounds. And I think you just need to go and put more weight on those things.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling too. I think that solution maybe with the image will work much better, because it's like secondary graphics, for the website, and that will help to make it visual more appealing. But yeah, I will for sure try that solution.
Cool, awesome, man. Try it out.
Still a work in progress.
Absolutely.
I will let you know when I end the content and everything.
Yeah. Just put that what if hat on and see what kind of nets out afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go crazy now.
Yeah.
I'm just following the rules, and maybe I just need to break the rules in this case.
Heck yeah. And honestly, what I do is I start in the sketchbook, right? So there's no bounds, there's no grids, there's nothing. You know, I just
Yeah.
play, and that kind of builds your stomach for your experimentation, if that makes sense. Stomach a lot more.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thanks, man.
Thank you for
giving you the boot.
the chat conversation here.
Absolutely.
You helped me out in out of yeah, but I will let you know when I hand this. It's the first personal website I'm doing. So
right on. Well, good
still
job,
a lot
man.
of work to do.
Like I said,
Yeah,
I had
cheers,
to really look for things to critique here because the fundamentals are followed. So good job.
Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna leave this room and get back to work. Ooh, Christopher has some really cool stylescapes. Christopher, stick around. At like 1:15, we'll circle back around and take a look at your stylescapes because these are real pretty. Excited for you guys to see that. But all in all, like, guys, great job. The designs that we've seen today are really fantastic. God, that's gonna bug me. It's supposed to line up with the X height. Saying's gonna get a note. Send it to Slack. So a lot of good comments in the chat. Let's see. Absolutely. All right, we need to turn the music back up, right? Get the jams going. There we go. And that's that. Switch it up a little bit. How we doing, guys? Wow, I think we had 73 viewers when we were doing some critiques. So you guys definitely like that. That's great. I'm stoked for that. Combined viewers, that is. All right, so we're getting back into grid explorations, and so far we've kind of explored the top navigation, and now we're kind of into the side navigation and playing around with how this is going to work, how this is going to look if we have this side nav area reserved. And right off the bat, I'm seeing that we're not going to have enough room here if we go 190. Even this logo, it's 178 pixels, but proportionately, it feels like it needs to be about that wide. So we'll go ahead and let's see, 210, something like that. How's audio? Is everything good? Holy smokes. We are close to 500 followers. Wow. Thank you guys. That's amazing. That's great. Okay, good. Audio's good? Good. Man, that's awesome. I am honored. All right, so the side nav always kind of presents a little bit of a tricky situation because you're reserving this area over here, but I think we can start pulling in these elements and seeing how these things react. And what's cool about this is that, like, for a blog article, could actually have things be attached to the right hand of the screen, so we could break the grid with image. Basically follow the same format. It actually does not look too bad. I stole it. Sorry. Keep forgetting to hold the Option key down. Alt key. Option? What is that on Windows? the only thing about this is that, like with these side nav things, like the bottom left always feels like it needs something, whether that's copyright or like some sort of text. Because we could even go like monogram here, center. Because we toyed around. If you guys remember, we toyed around with the idea of doing something black letter for the logo. So that could be cool. And this could just be like contact something. That could be legit. Let's see it in the browser here. So for a blog article or a piece of content, like, you know, having our header up here and the menu on the side, it could be pretty rad. And the trick would be just to keep this first grid column here clear, except for maybe images that kind of peek in. Only use that area if we need it. Meta text would work well there too. So if you're just tuning in, maybe wondering, what the hell are we doing with all these boxes? And really, we're just toying around with the different grids that we have, and seeing how they kind of interact with the different kinds of content that we're going to display on the pages, see which one's the right call. We want to do this working fast, where we're not like trying to set our type system in place yet, or anything like that. Okay, so here's where this kind of 5-column grid with the side nav starts falling apart. It's like, let's say we had one of these galleries where we wanted to be able to have the user scroll through this. So let me get this set up before I start talking. Do a little repeat grid action here. So if I made this sticky, let's group this, and how do we do that? Fix position while scrolling. So here's where it starts to fall apart. Like, let's say we're in browser mode, and we're scrolling through this stuff. You can see how the navigation elements stay on the side. And even on this, like where the meta text is, it feels like it's close. It feels like it's encroaching into this area. When we get down here, I guess it's not too bad. But what I'm concerned about is when the user starts swiping through this kind of gallery system, what happens when it goes under the nav? Is that going to cause too much clutter? Not really sure. That's the biggest downside, is that really you're not supposed to touch this area. I mean, I guess it could just disappear, where this is the spine here, and then these things just kind of like they scroll away, as if this were the edge of something that they're going under, so they don't encroach on this area. That's not as elegant, because then we're creating kind of like an invisible visual rule. Yeah, maybe like a gradient over here or something. It could be cool. But I do think that we'll lose a little contrast. And then as soon as somebody's, I don't know. As soon as somebody like grabs one of these images and scrolls them over, then their mouse is going to enter in the nav area, which could cause some unwanted reactions. But it is a cool thing. And I did have this idea where if you open the nav, it would fold in, and then, you know, the nav elements would be on their sides, you know, and it would take over the screen, but it would be kind of like sideways text or vertical text. So I'm still liking it, but that's a problem that we'll have to navigate. But one thing this does lend itself well to are these like sections of the page where we may want to incorporate some funky different like aspect ratios for different images, where we've got a little piece there, a little bit of text here. Here we go halfway. I don't know. You hear the little one? Mama! Done! See, in that instance, right there, the responsive resize is nice because it actually just, you know, compresses elements instead of changing their size. But like, you know, something like that feels nice where we have this little back and forth cadence there. As an alternative, we can always do a different style of gallery too, where we're just kind of like, hey, let's put some arrows here, and these can dictate the movement of a carousel piece here. The only problem is that like, if this full width image or this huge image is there, they're not going to see the next one like they are in this slider. And this is really easy for someone to recognize and say, oh, there's more content off screen. This could be cool too. You know, we could do a larger overlapping text element here. Oh, she's mad now. Okay, so this is not going to get ruled out. This side navigation. I'm just a sucker for asymmetry right now. I don't know. Could be cool. Dude, the little one is more than stubborn. My God. The older one loves drawing. Like, I invited her to come on stream because she would literally sit right next to me and draw the entire time. Just be silent. Ooh, and the little one though, destructo baby. I'm feeling really good about this, actually, that I'm seeing it in action. Here's the thing that I like about this grid is that it has this reserved area over here, and I know that I've said that it's a problem. The thing is that when you have your navigation and your logo on top, let me show you something. This is what happens all the time. Let's group this and fix position while scrolling. There's an issue on desktop where these elements kind of get in the way. See how they overlap everything? And so you lose a big chunk of the top of your screen. Because you're not going to be able to read these overlapping text, and technically this could go away. But anytime where you have a normal sized desktop, you're going to have these overlapping elements unless you hide the top nav as you scroll, and you know, UX wise, it's not that ideal. So having a persistent navigation on the side does have an advantage in that it's always there. It's always reserved. There's never a conflict with the content on the page. So that's something that we've been battling with the future website. And our solution there is to hide the navigation on scroll. So like we get to a certain point, it goes away, and then we go up and it comes back down. But in testing, this is not always the best solution, because people are like, oh, where's the nav? And then they either bail or they scroll all the way back up to the top. So it's just one of those things that we'll have to deal with. But it's nice that the side navigation kind of prevents those, overlaps from happening. Yeah, exactly. So oftentimes they display the logo mark in a burger nav while scrolling, so it doesn't overlap any of the content. And in some cases, that too does not work out too well. Yeah. And I think that like the way that other people have overcome this, like this Born fight, obviously they have a side nav, but their buttons will change color depending on. It's totally not going to do it right now, but the button will change color depending on the background, which is nice. Might have to enlist good old Tim Ricks to see if we can do that on Webflow. But hey, random graphic dude, thanks for stopping by. Definitely get some exercise in. Yeah, see you next time. And if you guys want more of this, I know I don't want to push for followers, but I do get comments. I get messages on Instagram and stuff like, I didn't know you were streaming. The best way to do it is to follow me on Twitch, because Twitch is really great with notifications. So as soon as I go live, you'll get a notification on your phone. That's the best way to catch it live, in my opinion. Ooh, she mad. Okay. I feel like we've beaten 5-column to death, and there's pros and cons, but I like it. So let's take a look. I don't know, you guys vote. We've got like a half an hour left before I want to do another critique. Should we go 15-column or the golden canon? Let me know in the chat. You guys vote. And you can chat both on YouTube and on Twitch. Anton, hey. Jack, I am using Adobe XD smiley face. Golden Canon? Oh, okay. Hey, Delicious Goatmeal, where you been, man? I was trying to pull you in for a critique. The pros for 15 columns? I don't know. I've never done it before. It's new to me. So that's pretty much it. It's something that's like, ooh, shiny object syndrome. I don't know. So we got 2 votes for Golden Canon. So the vote is, should we do 15-column grid or Golden Canon? Because I don't think we have time for both. Golden? Okay. All right. Okay, let's do Golden. Goldine. So it's been a while since I've put this together, so bear with me if I need to look this up, but I'm going to try and do this from memory. So let's see how this goes. The crazy thing is that we can't use XD's built-in grid, so that's just going to stay off. So let's see how we can do this. All right. So I'm just going to basically start putting lines on. I hope that I'm right. There is a great resource. I think it comes from Bont out there, where he has sketch versions of this. I downloaded it a few years ago, but it also kind of helps to know how to do this yourself. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create our diagonal lines, and then anytime these lines intersect, we're going to make a horizontal and a vertical rule. So this is the basis of our grid here. We basically copy this, paste it, and then resize it. So So now we're starting to see some interesting things. So here's another intersection here, right? And then we can continue to copy and paste and create these intersections. You can do this to infinity and beyond. If someone wants to find that resource from Bont, put it in the chat. Would greatly appreciate it. So you can see, like, I mean, this, you can go forever on this. Let's go here. You guys let me know if I'm doing this right. Feels right. It's been a minute. Oh, that poor baby. Don't tell my wife I said that poor baby though. Baby, it's asleep. Okay, I think that's about right. There's usually some other elements over here. Hold on. What am I missing? I'm missing like 2 vertical lines over here, right? Franjo, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about the links thing. I thought I fixed it, but I guess Streamlabs said nope. I will fix it by next stream for sure. Here's an intersection right here that we can do. There we go. And another intersection. You can literally carry this to infinity, but you're really just looking for these different points where things intersect, and it creates this really interesting grid. So we can copy all this and group it, and we'll probably turn down the opacity a little bit. The numbers, Mason, what do they mean? Yeah. All right, so golden canon. And when you're just starting out in design, like, it's really easy for you to see grids as like this mystical thing where you need to like pursue it and learn grids. Just recognize that they're guides, right? So at a certain point, I'm gonna break the grid and people are gonna get mad and all that kind of good stuff. But just remember that these grids are simply guidelines to help you make decisions where to position the elements on screen. Ooh, she mad. So in the new house, some cool stuff that's happening over there. We had a meeting with our design team, and we are going to be soundproofing the office. So bear with me while we build this new thing. All right, so if you have a top nav out of there, probably want to do something like that. Now the beauty of this is like it scales marvelously. Like if we had this super wide screen, you know, one of those like 49-inch screens, the grid scales with the container. So you can set it up to simply scale place, and then you wind up with the same kind of effect. Same thing for mobile. Obviously, we're going to reduce the number of columns for mobile, but if we go really, whoa, look at that. Go really narrow, say it's like a tablet or something like that. Does the same thing. Here, let me turn response through size off. There we go. So you can see these elements, this grid kind of stays the same. And obviously we want to lose elements, but it kind of indicates where you can position these things. So pretty cool. So some other updates on the new office. It's going to be soundproof, which I'm stoked about. And then it's also going to be, I'm going to have outlets in the ceiling so that like the light, the camera, all that stuff is going to be ceiling mounted. And the studio is pretty huge. It's like 19 by 21, I think. So we'll have the main desk and streaming area. We'll have a couple of different options for where to shoot videos and all that good stuff. Stoked. So pumped. Are you okay? Sounds like a war zone out there. Hang on, guys. I'll be right back. Can we just say that to all the wives and mothers out there, you guys are amazing. And my wife's going through it right now. It's a war zone out there with that 2-year-old. So, thank you to all you wives and mothers. You guys are awesome. Mine's the best, but you know, I don't know. All right, so what do we got? Full rage. Yeah, absolutely. Leswint, you're also building a new office. Excellent. That's great. Naim, hello from Bangladesh. Anton, diagonals give much more thought for dynamically rich compositions. Yeah, I agree. I think that that's a really cool concept. So shout out to all the women. Exactly. But let's go ahead and talk about the home page here. And we'll see how this kind of like, because the concept for the home page is it's a static page. It's not static. It's a non-scrolling page, and you're going to be able to click one side or the other and go to either where I've been or where I am now. And so in the 5-column grid, it was nice because we could center things. You know, there's 5 columns, 3 in the middle, 2 on the side. Everything was centered and kind of locked up nice. But let's see how that functions on the golden canon. So I still think we're missing some intersections here. So I'll have to go back and review. But it looks like these elements will just kind of line up pretty perfectly. This is going to be huge, chunky text. Yeah, that's really nice. Mm-hmm. So that's as if we were using the top nav. I should say top nav. Let's do one more. When I say that this grid is infinitely expandable, like you could literally take the your diagonals, put them in this tiny square right here, and generate more horizontal rules and columns and stuff like that. So I know on the download that Bond has, there's probably one or two over here that I'm missing, but this gives it a nice this gives it some nice padding from the edge of the browser, which I like. I don't know why I keep checking my 5-column grid, but let's go ahead and can move this up here. It's down here. It's not going to be like a strikingly different thing. It's still balanced. I don't know. Let's try side nav. I think the homepage is like, it's so simple that we're not going to see a crazy amount of variation until we get into the blog post layout. And the cool thing about the Golden Canon grid system is that there's built-in horizontal grid lines, which is really nice. So we can pop our side nav icon here. That's nice. So if I wanted to, I could take the entire grid, turn this responsive resize off, and let's say I pulled a guideline here where this belongs. I could just close the grid to that right there. Then I have a new centered line. So if we wanted to keep things nice and centered, just move them over. This does not feel balanced. I guess it's not too bad. It does feel like really heavy on the right, doesn't it? Les Went, thank you for joining. Would I take this long making wireframes for a client job? It depends. Usually, like, the client will answer this question in a very, very simple yes or no answer. It's like, hey, do you want a side nav or a top nav? And the client will say, oh, I'd love a side nav. But I think it's worth exploring. And the way that I see this is that we're not really working on wireframes right now. We're really sticking to grid explorations, and we're doing it so that we don't, we're not allowing the content to dictate a lot of like our design decisions at this point. So yes and no. Like, I think we've only spent maybe an hour on this, and I think it's totally worth exploring something for an hour. All right, so the centered thing still feels a little imbalanced for me. Let's see how it looks in the separate window. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure that's the jam for the homepage. Let's try it out on the blog post page to see how it goes. You guys keep me on track. At 1:15, I definitely need to start that last critique. I want to get that in. All right, so this will be blog or content. I think for the golden canon to really work well, we need to take it as something that works. Let's see. Need to, how do I want to say this? The aspect ratio of the golden canon grid works within the specific boundaries of the space. And so if we have a browser here, like this is the limitation of the browser, as we scroll, like the grid should scroll with us and not expand. So what we don't want to do with the golden canon grid for web design is we don't want to say, all right, let's go and drag this all the way down here. Because technically, like, this is the proper way to use this grid, to stretch it out. The thing is that, like, the user is never going to see the website at this height. Like, they're always going to see the website through their browser. So I think that the correct way to use this grid for site design is just to stick to the way that the browser is reacting. So what we can do, though, is we can just duplicate it and treat the site more like a series of slides than anything. I don't know, that's my opinion. You guys let me know if I'm off there. So trippy. Oh my god. Khalil, completely new to this world. Enjoy the process so much. Inventing, discovering, respecting certain rules, breaking rules. Yeah, it's a process, man. Creative journey is it's different for each project and for everybody. I think it's good to have like a hardcore process that you follow, and that the steps that you take are the same every time. I think that the journey, like within those steps, is going to be different, bumpy, weird for each project. So the golden canon grid is going to lead way more towards symmetry than the other grids, which is kind of the reason why I'm not like a huge fan of it for this project. But I've used it in the past for like products like the complete case study. So that was all done in golden canon. So you can see this text elements, like the using the grid for text still works very, very similarly to what we were doing before. So it's a little bit more formulaic. I could see getting in a rut with this pretty fast. And then going back to your question, Samuel, sometimes client work, you just gotta like get in there and get it done. Like literally, sometimes using a template or using grids that you've used in the past. Like, it really depends on how much effort or how much time the budget will allow. So if you've got like a really wide range of or a really wide budget, like that you can spend some decent time on the project, I would recommend doing something like this. But not every client project is going to be like that. See, this is where the Golden Canon grid really excels. It's like how to position elements both horizontally but vertically. Like the vertical pacing, it's really easy to figure out on the Golden Canon grid. Someone asked, I think it was Jordan, asked about filling dead air on stream. I don't think that you need to. I think that sometimes when you get into the flow, especially if you're doing something creative on stream, dead air is not a bad thing. I will say that the one bad thing about the Golden Canon grid is that I totally forgot what I was going to say. My God. Oh, okay. I remember. All the examples that you see online of the Golden Canon grid, they're literally just single screen pages like this. And you don't get to see the rest or a page that scrolls. And so this is an interesting experiment by using this repeat grid to just consider these, little sections as slides versus actually stretching the grid to match the artboard. But it should be like responsive to the browser dimensions. Like that's the principle there. Let's see. So these sizes should be able to be replicated throughout. Let's see. Yeah, nice. So we can still do our slider here. Although we don't have anything bleeding off of the edge, so maybe a better way to do that would be to the wider image format, give it a little padding there. Oh, that's the other thing, is that like gutters, you kind of have to eyeball them with the Golden Canon grid. Also go here, make it nice and chunky. There we go. That might actually be a better slider for the Golden Canon grid. And so when we move into the next phase, when we're actually like thinking about making the components for this site, these slider cards or the type system, it helps to have this already kind of mapped out, because we know that like if we go with Golden Canon, the slider is going to have to be this aspect ratio where we're looking at like 1920 by 1080 versus something square, you know, just to be able to make that grid come alive. That's a cool layout though. Let's scroll through it real quick. So we got our title here. Maybe this is a video or a header image. Our content. Yeah, that's funky. Yeah, it's a much better slider than this one. Because this image gets cut off, but that's the whole point. And then when you scroll, you know, you'll be able to see when the end of the carousel is. Fluid, exactly. Oh, and as far as clients go, this is never something that we want to show them. Like they would look at this and be like, what on earth are we doing? Because the decisions that we're making at this phase requires like some imagination, and you don't want to leave much to your client's imagination when you're presenting work to them. Yeah, this is cool. Add a little bit of footer. Footer goodness there. That's it. That's cool. And the body text here is large on purpose. I think I'm actually going to go somewhere between at 1920 pixels wide for the browser width. I'm going to go somewhere between 20 and 24 pixels for my body copy. It's something that has made me uncomfortable before, but that's kind of what this project is about. It's about like trying to push the boundaries of what I've done in the past, try something new. Yeah, that just feels organic. It's really nice. Oh my gosh, all right. It's 1:15, so it's time for another critique. So let's go back into Discord, figure this out. Hey, Christopher, are you still in the chat? You guys let me know while we're working with Chris, get him online and all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think of these grids so far. I'm digging both of them. To be honest, I'm leaning more towards 5 column just because it feels a little bit funkier. But we hadn't explored the side nav in blog layout form on the golden canon grid. So, okay, cool. So what you want to do is jump into the waiting room here, this little voice room, and make sure your mic is turned on and all that kind of stuff. So, then once you're in there, I'll grab you into the stream chat room. I'll go ahead and mute. And we'll take a look at these stylescapes. Okay, Chris, can you hear me?
So I can hear you.
Right on. Welcome.
Whoa, it works nice. Hello, hello.
Hey. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick so you can see what I'm looking at. And you should be able to see it if you click on that stream chat room. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Great.
Wait a second. I think I should mute or pause Twitch chat, right? Twitch, because I'm hearing you double.
Yeah, you should mute the
Okay.
video on Twitch.
Yeah, I did. Nice.
Great. Okay. And I'll go ahead and turn the music down. Is his audio coming in clear, guys? Okay, there we go. -35. All right, so you guys let me know if you can hear him well, and tell me about this. So far,
Yeah.
like, I'm impressed, dude. So, like, you are definitely on the right track. But let me know what you were going for.
Yeah, so this was my bachelor's attempt. I was developing a corporate design for a tool brand, a brand that sells saws, screwdrivers, and stuff like that. And my target audience were young men at the age from 20 to 29.
Oh, very cool.
And I made some stylescapes for them. I made 2. I went back and watched all of your Building a Brand series episodes. I loved them. They were great. And I made a lot of screenshots and took notes. And this is what I came up with.
It's great. Are you from Germany?
Yes, I am. So sorry for bad English. I'm a little bit rusty.
You are. There's no bad English in here. I can understand you absolutely perfectly. I just noticed that, like, Stylescape combination with a K.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, what would you like feedback on? Is there a problem that we need to solve, or just kind of looking for validation that you're awesome?
Just some validation, because we never learned how to do stylescapes, and I just watched your shows. And when I showed this to my teacher, he was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting," and he has like never heard of it. So I'm not sure if this is a good, or if these are good stylescapes, or if they are trash, or I don't know. So I just
they're definitely not trash. So good job
Okay.
on this. I mean, even just looking at the first option here. So let me just walk you through this. Like, as far as the way that these things look and the way that they behave, I'm understanding what I would do if I needed to riff off of this for a client job. So you're using these boxes. There's very clear typography. It's kind of like that Americana mixed feeling type where we're pulling in. We're a little bit we're thumbing our nose at the Swiss, the very clean style of Swiss type. We're very boxy. Obviously, we've got our our hero here, the person that we're designing this for, which is really clear. What does this mean? Gut Beratung?
What exactly? Can you say it again, please?
This word here under tradition, it's Gut.
It means good customer service, like someone who explains how the tools work and stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is the vibe that I'm getting. The color palette is great. I love the kind of subdued blue, the hyper saturated orange, and the black. It's a very strong combination. And you notice that, like, guys in the chat, the color has been carried through the entire Stylescape. So even on this little drill here, I'm sure that this color was kind of edited to fit this guy's shirt. Matches the color scheme.
Edited everything just to match the colors. Yeah.
Yep. So this is the kind of effort that we're going for. But the nice thing is that, like, did you design anything in here? Like, is Keem the brand that you're designing for?
Yeah. That's actually my last name, and since a lot of German tool brands have the founders just used their last name, I just went for it, and I thought, yeah, let's go and take my name, do a little branding with my name. So this is my last name. Yes.
Very cool. So what I'm seeing is like what you've designed, which I don't always recommend designing something new for a Stylescape. It's really, we're trying to set the compass direction for what we're going to do next. but what you've designed blends in so well with the rest that I couldn't tell. So that's a good thing. I totally get this direction. So let's take a look at the number 2. So this is the second one.
Maybe
Alright.
I can explain something.
Yeah.
The first one you just saw was the mild one. You have 3 Stylescape variations: mild, medium, and spicy. So this was my take on the mild one.
Okay.
And I also called it like the retro one, using old stamps and having those old labels that showcase the different instructions or whatever there's on the packaging and stuff.
Very cool. All right, nice. So as far as the color scheme, we're maintaining the same colors, which is good. Typically in our Stylescapes, we vary the color scheme or the palette between the Stylescapes in order to give the client a lot to react to. But let's say, in this case, this is a pretend client. So let's say that they already picked out their colors, or they already had a brand system, but we were just giving it an update or something like that. I can see that would carry through here. What I'm seeing here is like a more geometric. See, I don't speak English, right? Like it's a more geometric approach where all of the illustrations are very simple geometry, and then you have this kind of like really pretty texture here. The thing is that with this piece, I'm a little less sure of how I would treat different things. So if we look at this first one, we've got examples for typography. We've got examples for image treatment, halftone and overlays. We've got examples for logos, and we've got the palette really nice. We've got textures. So we've got a lot of paint on our palette to work with. And we would go here, there's a lot less. So like there's a little bit of type, but it's mostly based on the illustration styles. And even that, we're lacking a little bit of consistency. So as a client, if I'm looking at this, I'm going to be hard pressed to tell the difference between number 1 and number 2. That makes sense?
Okay. Yes.
AA, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you soon. And Naif, good to see you. Better late than never. Yeah, absolutely. Doing a final critique. All right, so let's move into number 3. And number 3 is the same thing. I get that the illustration style has changed. We've got a little bit of a differentiation on the logo, but we've also got the same kind of elements pulled in every one. And this is where I would kind of throw a red flag if I were the creative director on this project, because basically the only thing that's changing between these Stylescapes is like 1 or 2 elements. And I think that's where we're missing the mark of the Stylescape process. This whole process is to present 3 completely different directions that fall within the same descriptions. It's interpreting the same words differently throughout the 3 options. And I'm not getting that kind of different. And so if I were a client, I would look at these 3 and I'd say, yeah, I like them. And then it'd be, oh, what do you like? And it's like, well, I like what you've designed here, what you've laid out. I like it. And it's all going to blend together into one thing. So that's where we want to really kind of like differentiate each option and present individual options to the client. But what you've gathered, like if it all fit under one umbrella, it all works. And so it's just tripling your workload.
Yeah. For explanation, this this is the combination. So I just showed this to my class, and they thought like, yeah, you could make a combination of the first one and the last one. So you stand out. You have those cool illustrations printed on on your right, the saw. Maybe you have illustrations on the saw. So to stand out from other tool brands, that they kind of have a boring design, and I wanted to bring life to them, to tell a story on the tool itself. So this was my take on being unique as a tool brand, and
I love it.
to attract young men.
I think that you nailed it here, and I'm going to tell you why. It is more consistent than the other 2. Like the first one had lots of different elements and lots of different options, And it feels like you've refined this concept into one thing. And that's exactly what you've done. So your illustration style, there's plenty of cool overlays, that tone on tone, like the, it's almost like somebody who's in a screen printing shop, just, going crazy with the different screens. And then, there's examples for typography. I could pull wayfinding from here. I could pull icon styles. I could pull, packaging inspiration. There's tons of things for me as a designer to go from. Now, if I were going to be really picky, if I put my creative director hat on and I would just pick this thing apart, there's three things that stand out to me here. The first is this tone of blue. For some reason, it just doesn't really fit, and I don't think that you need it. I think that the two main colors paired with the neutrals is really, really all you need. This feels like it's kind of coming off the wall, and you can see that it provides good contrast, but it just doesn't. It lowers the refinement almost. So I would restrict your palette a little bit more. The other thing is this piece. This white chocolate champagne truffle is beautiful typography, but it doesn't fit in with the rest of the board. It's very Swiss, and this comes from the first one. And I was going to point this out over here, it's over here.
Yeah.
But on this board, on your final board, it's prioritized. It's much clearer to see, and it's higher up on the board. It's right next to this guy's eyes, which is the first thing that your eye is going to go to, is somebody else's eyes. So this right here is kind of an oddball to me. It feels very different than the rest of the type on the page.
Okay.
And then the final thing that I want to point out is this piece right here. Now, some people might disagree with me on this, and that's okay, but this is so clean that it stands out from the rest of the board. And I'm wondering that if there's no other kind of circular, badgy style of elements, the risk that you would run working with a client is they could look at this board and then they'd notice that one thing that stands out, and they could say, no, I don't really like it because of that one little element. And then you miss all the rest of the cool stuff on this board. Or they could say, I love this board. And then you design this whole identity system around these really cool illustrations and this Americana typography. And what they were really after is this badge. And so that's why we really want to refine these things when it comes to presenting. I think that the gradient screws could probably go too. This feels a little bit out of place to me. I get it that it's a hardware brand, but I would just sprinkle some actual photos of screws onto the board instead of having these 3D gradient based things, because those kind of pop out at me. And that's it. Otherwise, great job. Like I said, that was super nitpicky, and I was putting my my blind creative director hat on.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Good job. Man, round of applause for you, dude. Chris, you nailed it.
Okay, thank you.
Boom. All right. Thanks, man. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Man, great work today, guys. Shoot. This was great. Yeah, the saw, goat meal, the saw with illustrations was probably my favorite thing. Good job, Chris. Seriously, the stuff that we've seen today has been really, really interesting. Very, very cool stuff. And that brings us to 1:30. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna continue these grid, playing around with these grids kind of after hours. I may stream at night. I'm not really sure. I'm working on this stuff after the kids go to bed as well. But we're getting to the point in this process where we're going to start synthesizing. We're going to start bringing all of these elements together. We've done typography explorations. I'm writing content. We're exploring grid. And now we're getting to the point where everything's going to kind of snap together and hopefully have some pretty cool designs. But I'm happy with the exploration that we've done today. And it's another tough choice. It's tough to decide which route to go down, but I'll show you guys the work that I do with the 15 column grid and the side nav on Golden Canon. And yeah, we'll figure it out. Benny, you can be CEO of so many companies. Put people here out of your chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right. What do we do now? We got to find somebody to raid, right? Let's see. Who is online? What'd you guys think of this? Do you do something similar where you're exploring grids with more shape to figure out the cadence, or are you someone that kind of jumps right into the design? Because I've done it both ways, and it's totally fine, kind of both ways. But just curious to see what you guys are doing. Oh well, we definitely need to go raid AA. So here's AA. So you guys recognize him from the chat, but we're just gonna keep passing people back and forth. Okay, so yeah, you're looking at the rhythm, depends on the job. Hola, wow, Padua on YouTube. I will be live tomorrow at 10:30. Yeah, it depends on the job. Yeah, honestly, sometimes it's like, we go with 12 columns, and that's what we're doing. Yeah, Twitchception, it is. All right, so let me move that away, and we'll go raid. And as always, guys, if you like A's content, give him a follow. We're trying to build this design community on Twitch, and I think it's a good thing for us to be sharing our process. So until next time, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for joining in live, and give A some love in his chat. We are rating AA. All right, here we go.